Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today guys, we're diving into the world of Vechain and specifically the price action of 𝗕. With a 20% pullback, is this just a standard Monday or is there something else going on? We're going to dive into the weekly, daily and hourly charts to see exactly how 𝗕 has been performing and what we could expect to happen next. If you find this video useful, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here. Right, with this said, done and out of the way, let's dive down into the technical analysis on Vechain. So we're going to start things off with the weekly chart, guys. Just highlight the structure, make sure everything is intact and where we see it going longer term. Now, Vechain's pullback does mean that we have more potential gains on the table now. It means that we are looking at just short of 900% move to the upside, where we see Vechain topping out at about $1. Okay, and this is based on current performance. Whether you decide that $1 isn't really quite what you think is going to happen, it is what the performance is currently indicating to us. We can see that there are 5 impulse waves to the upside. Okay, and within those 5 impulse waves, there's correction wave 2, correction wave 4, and then there are 3 impulse waves to the upside: 1, 3, and 5. Okay, so everything started off back in March of 2020, really peaking out up here in April of 2021. Since that time period of 399 days, we've seen 18,295%, significantly higher than that of Bitcoin with only 1,600% in gains for the same time period, but not quite as good as something like Matic that's seen 42,000. So it's a pretty good performer in our portfolio. It has performed incredibly well, much better than some of those higher cap coins. However, obviously there are lots of corrections on the journey. Nothing moves up in straight lines, and we should prepare ourselves for what is otherwise just a standard day in crypto, which is the volatility. Here we can see that even during wave 1 there were a few week periods where we were just correcting down, only to surge up afterwards. During the 4th wave and 2nd wave corrections, obviously there was less moves to the upside than there were to the downside. So we take a look here, we can see even on the 3rd impulse wave to the upside there were significant pullbacks, and we still moved up to the upside. Now, the volatility that we are seeing at the moment is all courtesy of Bitcoin at the moment, and we are just tracking alongside what Bitcoin is doing. That being said, I am anticipating Bitcoin to do a pretty cool move in the next couple of weeks to see it move up nicely to the upside overall. We won't probably hit decent levels like all-time highs, but that will be coming in the few months down the line. Ultimately, the market is about to heat up after the usual historical September pullbacks that we normally see. Ultimately, we are in a pretty good position, structurally speaking, and everything here is looking nicely tracking to the upside. Overall, we could be looking at that dollar level by the end of the year or beginning of 2022. Timing is always the hardest thing to gauge, so we have a kind of rough kind of timeline there in line, and obviously we'll analyze the charts to make sure everything is going where we think it is in due course. Now we can take a look at the stochastic. We're having a nice correction here on our stochastic in line with what is going on with the candles at the moment as well. Okay, so obviously saying that structure, we have 5 impulse waves to the upside, and this is still pretty much intact, and there's nothing really to worry about in terms of the structure from the bigger macro picture. But let's jump down into our daily view, and here we can actually take a look at what's been going on most recently. Obviously, this is where we see the Fibonacci retracement, and from the high of 3 and the low of wave 4, this predicts out that $1 level. So like I said, based on the performance of our correction wave 4, how low we've been and how high we have been, this then shows us that we have that push for $1 in our 5th wave. Now, when we actually take a look at what's been going on most recently, Bitcoin has been having a bit of a play around with most of the altcoins in the space. And again, this just comes down to making sure that the institutional manipulators that are behind the scenes of Bitcoin are basically shaking out retail investors out of the altcoins. It's quite obvious to those guys when they take a look at the Bitcoin dominance that there's a lot of money still available to them in the altcoin market, and they are not going to be happy about letting Bitcoin fly back to the upside until those retail investors have been shaken out of the market. With that being said, I think there's a lot of people who are potentially shorting Bitcoin thinking that it's going down a lot lower, and I'm not convinced that that is something that we are going to see. In fact, I think we're going to go the other way, and everyone who has been shorting will be liquidated. This is why I do not use leverage, and why I try to stay as safe as I can in space and do not overextend myself. I only buy what I can afford to lose. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor, nor is Chris, so make sure you do your own research. We obviously like Vechain quite a lot. It's performed incredibly well for our portfolio, and there's very few projects, in our opinion, that do just as much as Vechain in the real world. So we do anticipate this project absolutely flying in the near future, obviously up to that dollar level, but way beyond that in 2025 and 2030, once that mainstream adoption really comes in. So obviously a 20% pullback is what we have seen in the last few days. We're pulling back today is courtesy of what is going on when it comes to Bitcoin's pullback to 45k. Now, this is lining up quite nicely. We are heavily oversold, down at 2.1 on our stochastic RSI. We haven't seen a level like this since we were down at the bottom over here, for example. Okay, so this is where we're at 1.01. Or when we were over here, we were actually moving to the upside on our stochastic. We were actually at 9.6. So we know that we're incredibly oversold right now. And this daily chart is getting primed for a nice big move to the upside, similar to what we had seen over here. So we know that we are only really around the corner now, a couple of weeks or so, before we absolutely do have that huge push to the upside. So this pullback has been very unfortunate for us. We are obviously tidying up and moving up nicely towards some key areas before Bitcoin did decide to pull us back down. But we are still setting up these higher lows. Okay, it's that point in the video where we want to talk about being safe in the crypto space. We see a lot of scam activity and want to ensure our cheeky community are as safe as possible and prevent anyone from losing their crypto. There are many different scams in this space, but one of the most common and easy to avoid are those hacked wallets and exchanges being hacked themselves. This is where hardware wallets come in. When it comes to choosing a crypto wallet, there is no perfect solution. And no matter which kind of wallet you do choose, if you don't understand the basics of security, you can still become a target of bad actors. Now, like I said, we like hardware wallets because they minimize the risks that we cannot control, such as major data breaches at cryptocurrency exchanges or malware that exploits the zero-day vulnerabilities in mobile and desktop operating systems. To be clear though, hardware wallets are not perfectly safe. They will give you an added level of security and protection though. We do like to use the Ledger devices. We have Ledger Nano S and X on this channel, and these are for a good bang for your buck when it comes to keeping your crypto safe and secure. There are two models, the Ledger Nano X and the Ledger Nano S. The X uses Bluetooth and can be used with your mobile, where the Ledger Nano S, it does require you to actually plug it into a laptop. Those are the two main versions, and we actually use both of them as some cryptocurrencies only work with the Ledger Nano S currently. The Ledger Nano S is smaller, however, with a limit on the amount of different coins that you can hold, whereas the Ledger Nano X can hold up to 100 different cryptocurrencies. You often find yourself having a trade-off between the kind of hardware wallet that you want to buy and obviously the ones that do everything you absolutely need them to do. Now, when it comes to cost and availability, I do find that Ledger is a little bit easier to kind of come by and is more affordable to the everyday individual and investor. When it comes to buying a hardware wallet, we do suggest you research the different types and brands, and I cannot stress this part enough. Only order directly from the manufacturer, as there are many fake hardware wallets out there. If you are interested in a hardware wallet, there is a link to Ledger's official website in the description below. You will be able to find out more details about how to keep your crypto safe there. Guys, let's continue with the video. So what we're going to do now is just jump over to the advice dashboard and load up Vechain here to see exactly what has been going on with VET in terms of the underlying data. Now here we can see we have moved down to a B3 rating. We can see that there is extreme fear in the space. Everyone's very, very fearful over what is going on with Bitcoin, and the altcoins, obviously, and micro-cap coins are the first ones that are going to be affected by this. Here we can see the fear and greed index is actually all the way down with the extreme fear of rating D. The 𝗕𝗓 ratio is a C2, so even liquidity has been hit hard. We can see the Sharpe ratio is still an A2 though, so risk-reward ratio is still in our favor. Moving averages have been affected at C2, and the profitability is definitely really well at an A1 rating. So overall, there is definitely problems with the underlying data. The AI has picked this up. It picked this up at about 8 hours ago at midnight, and here you can see that ultimately we should be concerned about the prospects of the short-term time frame for Vechain. So when we jump back in here and we go down to our hourly view, here we can obviously be concerned over what is going to happen next for VET, right? So obviously with the pullback that we have just seen, where are we likely to see things go, right? So for starters, we came down to our 9.8 cent support line, something that we were talking about not too long ago. And obviously here we can see some of the areas that I was talking about in yesterday's video, where I was anticipating us potentially pulling back to, trying to find support on some of these key levels. So right now we are in an unfortunate area, but we are in this also oversold area, just coming out of it. So we are looking for a bounce to the upside. So where are we going to bounce to? Well, let's grab hold of our Fibonacci and actually pop this on. Now we have an interesting low area. We should be looking to bounce up towards probably our, about 10.6 cent. Okay, so just short of our resistance line that was acting as a support line. So if we are going to be bouncing to the upside, then where we want to be bouncing to is about here before we get rejected. Okay, so we'll be interested to see how this one plays out. I would anticipate that we will be getting rejected with the amount of fear in the space, but also right now we do not know for sure whether or not we have found the bottom either. We can of course come right back down into this oversold area as we succumb to the fear, and we can push down a little bit lower on our charts here. And if we do, then we're looking at 9.2 cent as a really strong support line for us. So if we do continue this downside, then we can of course come down to about 9.2 before we start to see that bounce back to the upside overall. So right now there is a lot of fear in the space here for Vechain. I would like to think we found the bottom, but obviously in the next few hours we'll know for sure. If we do lose this one here, then I would be anticipating a 9.2 cent support level. If we do not lose our 9.8 support, then we should look to move our way up towards the resistance levels just up here, where we might get rejected at 10.6 cent. Although, to be fair, there's also a couple of areas here that also might be a bit of a blocker for us, such as 10.5. Okay, so nothing moves down in straight lines in the same way that it doesn't move up in straight lines. So we'd anticipate getting rejected from some key areas around here before falling down potentially lower. Or in the case of what we have seen so far, actually we get rejected, but we set a higher low, only to go up again and continue this motion to the upside overall. Okay, so it could be a slow burner, but I am anticipating volatility for another couple of weeks before we do absolutely go on a tear to the upside overall. So again, these are opportunities, to basically trade key levels. Right now is a bit unclear after a huge kind of pullback that we have seen. So for now, we want to kind of be mindful not to do too much, or we have to wait, stay, and kind of just bide some time to see where the bouncing occurs. Have we found the bottom? Do we start moving up to the upside? And then we can start trading if we wanted to. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor, so make sure you do your own research, draw your own charts up. We do use trading view here, so you'll be able to replicate everything that I do on the charts. So guys, I'm going to leave that there. Just expect volatility. The weekly is looking good, the daily is looking good, but obviously the volatility on the smaller time frames we have to be mindful of. So I will leave the video there. If you have found it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I will catch you all in the next one.